Okay, why don't we talk about Section 1256 first, and we'll just go through it quickly. That if you're a bean counter, you refer to it as Section 1256. If you're a normal human being, you call it 60/40. That it came about in 1981, and as part of it, that futures or regulated futures contracts were marked to market for tax purposes. At the time, it was really the only financial instrument that you saw marked to market for tax purposes at year end.
And Phil, the downside of that mark to market is that, unlike other instruments, right, they would have to pay tax on open positions.
Yes.
As opposed to like equities, putting aside fancy elections where you don't pay tax till you sell. This was, well, you're going to pay tax on an open position.
And the unrealized gain, where
Right.
up until that time, you only paid tax on realized gains or losses. Before the 81 Act, that if you were a trader, you would put a spread on. And I can remember silver was always the likely candidate, where you'd have a butterfly on and you'd lift the losing leg and then roll it into another month, and so you would have realized losses that you would offset that against your regular trading. Well, Congress came along in 81 and changed the law for futures, and they came along in 1983 and they changed the law for equity options in a market maker account. The other products that fall under Section 1256 besides regulated futures contracts are broad-based index options, stock futures if they're being traded by a professional, futures in foreign exchanges, Bermuda, Montreal, Cymex, ICE Europe, Dubai, ICE Canada, Life, and Eurex.
And Phil, remind me, why is it that I was like asking this question, why do the futures traders get better treatment than the equity options traders, where the options need to be not only broker-dealers but acting in their dealer capacity?
Better lobbying.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's all kinds of stories on how 60/40 came about, and I was giving a very similar presentation to some Japanese. This is like 15 years ago, and the interpreter could not communicate why it's 60/40. Till finally I said it's because at the time the law was written, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee was from Chicago. Before the interpreter could explain it, these Japanese guests are going, oh, Rostenkowski, Rostenkowski. So, again, I'm concerned, though, about 60/40, more so than I have been before. Over the years, there's been, it's been questioned a lot. There was a few years ago that the House Ways and Means Committee held some hearings. They got some academics to testify that there was no reason for 60/40. As Lance mentioned, in every one of the president's budgets that he's put forward over the last few years, he wants to do away with 60/40, and for professional traders, not only would it be ordinary income, but it would be self-employment income. If we get a major tax change this year, I mean major reform, and the last time we had that was in 1986, someone may look at 60/40 and say, why do we have that? I mean, that in 81, the reason it passed was because for the first time you're taxing unrealized gains. You don't see that distinction anymore.
I guess you do on equities if they're not making a 475.
Five election, and they're not in a market maker account.
So I guess the question, if they did do that, futures would almost become the worst instrument, because you would be almost like forced into mark to market without any benefit, whereas at least securities traders have an option, right?
Correct. Is securities, if you're trading securities in a market maker account in conjunction with an equity option, you have what's called a mixed straddle. And you don't get 60/40, but you can get as much as 50/50 in the mixed straddle account. And again, it would be based on where's the gain and where's the loss. If the gain is on the derivative side or the equity option side, and there's a loss on the equity side, then you would get 50/50 treatment. An election has to be made for the mixed straddle, and you have to compute the gain or loss every day, and it's aggregated at year end. What's surprising with our market maker clients is that we'll meet with them in October, and it seems the gain is on the equity side and the loss is on the derivative side, but sure enough, at year end, somehow the gain got on the derivative side.